Morning, everyone. So today is the day I've been waiting for quite some time, and it's the day that we get to go pick our new car up. If you've watched previously, you'll remember what I teased that I will be picking up, and today is the day that we actually go pick her up. So just went and got my fresh restock on some brake cleaner. Got some 10W30 oil so I can change the oil in my truck, and we're gonna go get it. Yes, you see right. We have purchased another Z. If you didn't know, get used to it, because I'm gonna buy them all. It's a 4-seater. I got this specifically so my dog can ride in the back, because she is not a fan of riding in these because she don't have enough room to lay down appropriately. So give you a little rundown on her. A Momo wheel. It's just got an adapter. It's not a quick release hub. Can't even tell the brand. Got a shift knob. She's only got 108K. And I think what this Z is going to be for the channel, it's going to be a race car, so to speak. I think we're going to go, since it's the 4-seater with the longer wheelbase, I think we're going to use it for either drift or drag. So it's got a Greddy exhaust on it. Don't look too bad. Fresh timing kit. I believe these are 35th anniversary wheels for 350Z. There's some nice aluminum calipers. Probably like one of the less good parts of the car, so to speak. It's got a little bit of rust and crust, but she's all here. All the trim panels in the back, etc. Well, I was gonna fix it in his driveway, but I got to a point where I could tell it was gonna be way too much. But I got this put together while I was there last. I don't know, I may upgrade the wiring harness while I'm in here. Has no power steering, been completely deleted. So I don't know, it just screams race car to me. Good morning, everyone. It's the next day, and it's officially time to get started on this 4-seater. I've been brewing over what I want to do with it. I think it's going to be the first skid car. We're actually going to make a drift car. Granted, we have no drift events or anything, tracks here in Indiana like that, at least that I know of. I mean, we do down south, but that's about 3 hours for me. But for the time being, I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to pull the engine. I'm going to fix the couple things that I knew I couldn't do with it in car when I was going to work on it, and possibly try to drop it back in and get a first start. This is all obviously before I decide completely on turbos and such. I have most of a swap, but I want to make sure I get everything correct. Now that all this is off, we're going to tow her up. If you haven't already, drop a subscribe below. So now we've got it up in the air. What I'm going to do next is get underneath. Be removing the exhaust test pipes, loosening the bell housing bolts. I'll remove the starter. So about 2 gallons of sweat later, we've got both of the test pipes off, drive shafts unhooked, transmission is out, and now what I'm going to do is push this up here into the barn and get my front end in so I can remove the engine. I found out the drain or the fill plug for the transmission is absolutely destroyed, so I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with that. Anyways, enough of the talk. Let's get this bad boy up in here and get to work. Pretty much what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these headers off, put stock manifolds back on, clean these out a little bit, replace one of the spark plugs because it is cracked, reseal these heater pipes on the back. Maybe while the engine's out, I'll replace the power steering line, so maybe we can put it back on. Oh, it's a tight fit. We're gonna get our rear coolant lines worked out with the heater core pipes. We'll reroute them, get rid of some of the extra factory pieces. Oh, you cannot see me. And yeah, well, it's really about the last thing until we go drop this thing back in. So now we've got our heater lines on and rerouted. These are still curing for their hour before I torque them down. Just put these gross spark plug guides back on. I think what I will do now is I will get my other PCV valve hooked up here. I'm going to change both of these hoses to silicone as such. I'm going to find the couple sensors for there and find my other motor mount, and we'll be ready to drop her in. We've now got coil packs, fuel rail, balance tube on. I know I'll have to remove the balance tube to pull the harness through here for these couple. All my PCVs hooked up and replaced. All torqued up back here. Got my clutch fan on, tightened. And now what I'm on to is my EGR block off. I already plugged that. I'm working on these Level Zero Motorsport delete kit. Sorry, it's new dad. I've been helping dad get moved out of his house. He's officially moved out now, so we're back to business. Got my random little hoses on. I just got my transmission alternator harness up, coolant, temp sensors, ECU and gauge. Got the radiator hose. I always put it on to hold the alternator harness. Here, I've got these cured, torqued up. Now what I'm going to do is push this Z right back up in. We're going to slap this bad boy in. we're just gonna make sure everything works before we go through and, you know, boost it. Want to make sure it's a good platform, good motor. So the kicker here that made me decide that I was gonna have to tow this home was this right here being disconnected. This honestly is just a mega hassle for me. So I think what I'm gonna do is just remove this booster, master cylinder, and I've got a replacement right here. So now the fun part, getting under the dash, laying down, and get them 4 dreaded bolts out and cotter pin. All 4 of the bolts and the cotter pin are out. So now, in theory, yep, should just pop right out. Clutch hard part makes this way more difficult. So now, out with the old, out with the old, and in with the new. And like that. I don't know how well you can see it, but it is up to the brake, or the brake pedal goes in between that fork. So now, just take a couple of your nuts, thread them on, get it secured so it will not fall out. And really the easiest way to do this is to tighten one down. It holds the booster in, and it's easier to get the rest tightened. Instead of using like a ratchet, you can bend, and you really can't see, but there's a relay box here. You can bend it back and get access right behind it. And you could use a ratchet wrench or a ratchet with no extension on it. So while you're dropping it back in, I recommend you connect your heater core pipes. If not, you can drop it and ratchet strap it to the front, and it makes it way easier to reinstall. Today we're going to get the trans dropped back in. After looking at it, there's no way I'm going to be able to get this one in there. I'm just going to use a good one that I have that I've been holding back. This fill plug is completely annihilated, and I do not have a welder or access to one currently to get it out. So got this trans, and I've got my mount here. Now I'm going to get this on, switch the throwout bearing, clutch fork over, hardware if needed. And this one even has new sensors, and we'll get her put up in there. About to rain. At least that's what the weather says. I've been trying to crunch out as much as I can. So far, I've got all of the engine harness hooked up. I've got nearly the bourbon canister rerouted. I'm keeping it for the time being, just because, well, I don't feel like making a bunch of plugs for all these holes. And the bolts are kind of rusted. It's going to be a lot more energy to take it out than what I anticipate or want to do. So transmission's in, it's mounted up. I think the only thing on the underside of the car I haven't done is put the test pipes up, and I have not put the engine mount lower bolts or lower nuts on. So I think we're about to go for a first start. Just see what she thinks. Check the oil first instead of being a dummy and just cranking her over. I apologize ahead of time, it's going to be loud. I know something funny. Guess what now that I think about it, the one thing is that I have not put on the bottom side, the starter. I have an even more fun problem that I completely forgot about, because this is an old trans. Needs one of the threads helicoiled for the starter. Anyway, it should be good enough for one start at least. Finishing up the trans fluid fill. It doesn't need to be that tight, guys. It has to come out sometimes. Just remember that. I really haven't picked the camera up much at all today. I've kind of just been on the go. I just went and got it registered at the DMV. Has insurance, has for a while. I've got everything done except for bleeding the brakes. So now the fun part's to do it by myself. It's a little more tedious, time consuming, whatever you want to say. But got the exhaust all bolted up, radiator filled up, got all the bolts, the motor mount bolts tight. Now that I had to put the test pipes with catalytic converters on, it is very quiet, I'm not gonna lie. So I really need to find a plug for this misplaced EGR button, and pretty much just for an O2 sensor so I can block it up, then I can throw them on. Since this has an X pipe, I really want to put these resonated test pipes on there and see what she sounds like. Even though they're Megan, be a little bit better than my CZP 2.5 inch non-resonated, but that's what I use on my slick top. So I don't know, I may be needing to buy some new test pipes soon. It's a new day. We've got everything wrapped up on her. Right now all we're sorting out is we need to bleed the coolant. For some reason, I'm not sure how well you can tell, my O2 sensor is smoking. My manifold is smoking. This very well could be from new gaskets, but the O2 smoking is kind of concerning. I may just have a really bad leak or something. But at least we got her moving. We drove her around the yard. I think what I'm going to do today is get her cleaned up and try to situate a few things. Mainly I'm happy with just having it move around the yard, as I can do things with it as needed. But other than that, there is fuel right there that is on the valve cover. Probably can't see too well, but you can kind of see the shine by the injector. There is a slight fuel. Well, I think I'm going to wrap up the video here. Reason being is due to the fuel leak, and I got a slight coolant leak in the back. I still couldn't see exactly where it's at, but between those, I'm just happy to have the car to be able to move around the yard so I can move it, use it as needed. With it being my first drift car, it's not going to start right off the rip. I've got to look for a couple parts. I got to weigh my options more or less for what way I want to go. I do want a twin turbo swap, as I did. Just fill out a whole tub, more or less, of everything you'd need. minus the intercoolers that I have up there. That being said, I apologize for letting you down. I was wanting to bring some driving content, mess around with it, but another really big thing I do need to take care of is I need to get a helicoil kit for the starter mount bolt because it's stripped and it's only being held on by one. And in the past I've had one snap off and ruin the starter, and being a brand new Bosch starter, that's not really something I'm wanting to do as it's fairly expensive. I believe I'll be going manual turbo. Yeah, manual turbo, stock turbo for the drift car. I'm gonna source hydro, at least one that I may like, that I can keep in a good position and not have to chop too much of the interior up. Got a couple strut bars that we can throw on it. But also, this video will be out soon. My micrometers, there's one right up here. Well, that's my bore gauge, but I had another micrometer over there that came in. I'm waiting on one more, and then I'll be able to wrap that up and drop that for you guys. And if you want to see more, make sure you drop subscribe down below and stay tuned for the next video. Y'all have a great day. Peace.